Okay, the time was December 7th, 1944. And we jumped off that morning at 0500. And our objective for our battalion, which was the 2nd Battalion, 89th Infantry, which consists of 3 rifle companies, and our objective was to cut a highway and railroad that was running close together near the city of Lemberg, and the Germans were using that for supply route. So they wanted the infantry to go in there and take that road and stop their supply lines. So the first thing that happened when we jumped off, we tactics of the German infantry, which was the same as ours, they'd have 2 deep, they called it. They'd have a line. They were on the defense there. We were attacking. We were on the offense. They were defense. So they have. The first thing we hit was their first line of resistance, and their positions were so camouflaged that you couldn't see them. You could have walked right up to it, and you probably wouldn't see it. They're camouflaged. There wasn't anybody standing out in the open, you know. You couldn't even see them, anybody. So we laid down on, the weather was real nice, and we were waiting for something, coordination between the units probably, and we were laying on the side of a hill, and it was pretty nice that morning. So, and we were waiting, so we had laid down, taken a rest, waiting for the next move. And we were on the forward slope, which is a down slope toward their positions, which is really a bad situation on the forward slope. And I remember laying right close. Our squad happened to be one of the first ones there for some reason or other. And I was eyeing this cut across a little swampy area with a little road going across. And I remember, not only me, I was sitting there eyeing. There was a cutout like somebody dug out some gravel, and then there was some trees, and a perfect defense position. And I kept eyeing that. It was maybe about 200-300 yards from it. Kept looking at it all the time, and I wasn't the only one. They were getting kind of nervous because we were exposed to artillery and the mortars, and we were getting kind of edgy there. And I remember sitting eyeing that one position, and the reason I was eyeing it wasn't because I thought they had a gun emplacement there. The reason I was eyeing it was I figured if they started with mortars and artillery, you're going to head for that as fast as we could to get in there, to get away from it. Well, the only way we could cross for our company is across this narrow road coming through the swamp. It's like a little dirt road. It was part water and part tracks. They must have been hauling gravel out of there or something. I don't know what for them. So, and all of a sudden we started getting fire. And I remember taking off for that position. Well, it happened, he was gun position right on top of it. There was coming, I couldn't see it. He was sitting looking right down the barrel at us. And we were only about 200 yards from him and still didn't see him. And of course, as soon as we started running across, he covered that road. And of course, he opened up right away on that road, because that was like a trap. Well, I think we were fortunate. We were the closest. And when we jumped up and headed right straight at him, he probably got, well, he didn't start firing right away, but he started firing as soon as we started across. Well, you got underneath his field of fire. He couldn't lure it, no. So we got close enough to him, field of fire, but some of the guys further back, they were a little later than we were, so they got the full blast from him. And I got right up underneath him, and he was right over my head. I could have jumped up and grabbed the barrel of his machine gun, I think, because we got on right back underneath. But there was a cut there, and the other guys were coming up behind, running through. Well, anyway, he finally ran out of ammunition, fortunately. And I think there must have been two of them. I think one of the guys took off when he ran out of ammunition. And the other guys circled around the edge, and they got in behind them. And he was out of ammunition, so he had to give up. Well, he was on his hands and knees begging, you know. And they finally let him go. Well, that was number one, first position we had. That was their first line, so then we went a little further before we hit their main line, which was an SS unit protecting it. Well, see, when a company goes in, they spearhead. One company goes in a V, and then the other companies are on your flank, protecting your flank so they can't get around you. So the F company was spearheading. So we came in first, and E and G were on our sides. Well, they held E and G back. So then that company, we got up in the point, and then they got in behind us. You know, they got pinched off, F company up there. Well, then when we started, the artillery and everything was so bad that, and their fire, they were really protecting that place. So then we were stopped right there. We couldn't do anything. And so we got trapped in there. Well, that's when we lost so many of the guys. Mm-hmm. And then that's when my platoon, part of my platoon, in the machine gun section, I was in the mortar section, they had pulled up ahead of us, and the railroad track was in a kind of like a gully, with a footbridge going across it. And we didn't have tank support, but they did. They had armored vehicles for defense. And part of our platoon got across and dug in. Well, then they got pinched off, and the tanks came in and pinned them in their holes. So they didn't have any choice. They couldn't. One guy got out of it. And then when the first platoon got across and they pulled back, they laid in so much artillery they didn't get a chance to dig in. So they took the brunt of it there. So then we were trapped in there, and they held E and G company back. We were just plain overpowered. That happened. And so then some of us got into a gully. It was kind of a rough terrain there with trees and all that. We got in there, and we got holed up in there. And either they thought they knew we were in there because they figured that they weren't going to send infantry in there because they didn't want to pay the price, I suppose. So they just tried heavy artillery, just really lay it in there. Well, we were dug in pretty well by that point, so we got through that town. And we weren't getting artillery support, or tank support, or air support, or anything because the weather was so bad. So, anyway, we were trapped there for a couple of days in there, and they didn't try to come in, the pocket. And because we may swore up and down, we're not giving up to them, no way. So, after about 2 days in there, we were running short of supplies. We were running out of stuff to eat and everything else. And then finally, the company commander, he was on his field phone just calling. He wanted to get support. He needed support. He said, we need more support, but we weren't getting anything. Well, then finally, the artillery that's far on each side from us, that they could reach from other units, the artillery, they finally started laying artillery on the German position, something terrific. Every artillery piece within range zeroed in on that one spot. And they blew a hole for us. They had to back off. So, but we, company commanders, we held our objective. We got across, finally got across the tracks and across the, so we held our objective, but that's what the write-up was. The guy wrote the whole history of that.
Yeah.
So that was the story about Lemberg. And then there was 7, 8, 9. 7th, 8th, and the 9th. And then when they finally cleared it out, they had to back off. So the 399th, there was some of the other units of the 399th were on our flanks. And they came in and they got through. So they opened it up so we had to get through. Well, our company was shot. we didn't have no more.
But lose about 50 men?
So they pulled us off in the reserve on the 9th, I think. And then we pulled back in a small town and they fed us hot chow. And we kind of recuperated. And I remember they told us never eat too much at one time, but just doggone hungry that they had pancakes, I remember, and they call it spam, but it's pork luncheon meat. And I ate too much, and that night I got so goddamn sick. Your stomach shrunk from the K rations. And then when you got hot food, you got in there and it swelled, and that hurt in the stomach trying to expand with that. So then I think, well, it seems to me when we left, our company's strength was 184, and I think when we walked down the railroad track heading to reserve, I think there was 63 that walked out of there, if I remember right. That were stringing out. We got on the track, I remember, started moving back out of another company must have took over our positions or something. So that was between that letter of the 3rd and the 13th. That's what happened in between 10 days.
No time to write.
Huh?
No chance to write.
We didn't have a chance to write. All we did was try to hang on. So that's when they wrote that in that book. They wrote about it, where the Fox Company took such a beating there.
Well, what do they do with, I mean, with the guys that lost, you just walk on, right? I mean, all the guys that were lost, you just keep walking. Say if you lost casualties, you just keep,
You left them, yeah.
you just leave them, and you
Well, no, that instance was one instance that usually when we had casualties, we had moved on before they came. The guys, GRS they call it. They had a unit they called the GRS, the Graves Registration Service. Their job was to pick up casualties. And when we moved across the track that morning, it cleared up, and we were still there. The company was still there, and they got up there. And our guys were still, the ones that we lost were still there, were there too. And they came up and picked them up, and we just hated to be there when they picked them up. Because these guys were all the ones we knew from Fort Bragg.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of early on. So one of the, so I remember that one of the days that we were still there when these DRS guys came up, and we just, it was for some reason or other, if you moved out of there, and when they came, then well, most of the time you had moved on, but that time they hadn't.
Even more real then.
That was the one time at Lemberg. That was probably one of the worst times of the whole. And that's when I don't know if I tell all of that, but
Go ahead.
that was one time when some of the captured guys, they never got to prison camp. They were captured, but they never got as far as the prison camp. They just, and they were guys who knew. And some of them they took prisoner, but some they didn't. And why, I don't know.
And they're Nazis.
But they pulled
Was that-
back,
was that-
they weren't able to get
Is that SS guys?
SS.
Didn't take prisoners.
That's why I wouldn't give up to them.
SS didn't take prisoners.
Some of them they did. I don't know why, because some of the guys that in my platoon